Every empire swears its money is safe. Every government vows its system is unshakable. History tells a different story. No promise lasts forever. From the marble halls of Rome to the bustling markets of modern Lebanon, the pattern is clear. When trust crumbles, money vanishes. Today we dive into the heart of why financial collapses are not random mishaps, but predictable cycles. More importantly, we will explore what you can do to avoid being swept away in the next one. You might feel secure right now. Your bank account shows a steady balance. Your paycheck arrives on time. Your government assures you everything is under control. But what if I told you that every civilization that leaned on those same assurances ended up broken? Not just struggling, but shattered. Their currencies turned to dust, their economies to chaos, and their people to desperation. This is not fear-mongering. This is history. And history has a way of repeating itself when we ignore its lessons. Let us start by pulling back the curtain on a truth that is both unsettling and undeniable. Money is not a foundation. It is a promise. And promises, as we know, can be broken. To understand why, we need to look at the past, not as a distant memory, but as a mirror reflecting our present. From ancient empires to modern nations, the story of money's collapse follows a familiar script. Let us walk through a couple of examples to set the stage, starting with Rome and the Byzantine Empire. These are not just dusty history lessons, they are warnings etched in the ruins of once mighty civilizations. The fall of Rome's denarius. Picture Rome at its peak. A sprawling empire, roads stretching across continents, aqueducts defying gravity, and a currency, the denarius, that held it all together. The denarius was silver, solid, trusted. Merchants accepted it from Britain to Egypt. Citizens hoarded it for security. It was the lifeblood of an empire that seemed invincible. But empires are not built on silver alone, they are built on trust. And trust, as Rome learned, is fragile. By the 3rd century, Rome faced pressures we might recognize today. Endless wars, bloated bureaucracies, and leaders desperate to keep the machine running. To pay for it all, emperors did what many governments do when the bills pile up. They tampered with the money. They started clipping the edges of the denarius, mixing in cheaper metals like copper. Each coin had less silver, but the government insisted it was worth the same. Sound familiar? It is the oldest trick in the book. Devalue the currency and hope no one notices. People noticed. Merchants began demanding more coins for the same goods. Prices crept up, then skyrocketed. A loaf of bread that once cost a single denarius soon required a handful. By the time Emperor Diocletian tried to fix the mess with price controls, it was too late. The market had lost faith. The denarius, once a symbol of Roman might, became worthless. Citizens bartered with scraps of metal or sacks of grain. The economy fractured, and with it, the empire's cohesion. Rome did not fall in a day, but its money died first, and the cracks spread from there. The lesson is stark. When a government undermines its currency, it undermines trust. And when trust collapses, no amount of decrees or propaganda can hold things together. Rome's fall was not just about invasions or corruption. It was about a currency that lost its soul. The Byzantine Empire and the death of gold fast forward a few centuries to the Byzantine Empire, Rome's glittering successor. The Byzantines had their own currency, the solidus, a gold coin admired across the known world. It was the dollar of its day, accepted everywhere, a beacon of stability in a chaotic world. Traders in Constantinople haggled over silk and spices with solidus in hand. Kings paid tribute with it. For centuries, it held steady, a testament to Byzantine ingenuity and discipline. But even gold is not immune to human nature. By the 11th century, the empire faced its own pressures. Wars with neighbors, internal power struggles, and a treasury stretched thin. Emperors, like their Roman predecessors, turned to the currency for a quick fix. They began debasing the solidus, reducing its gold content bit by bit. A coin that was once pure became a shadow of itself, mixed with silver and copper. The government, of course, insisted nothing had changed. But markets do not run on promises, they run on reality. The result was predictable. Prices rose as the solidus lost its luster. Merchants in distant lands began to hesitate, demanding more coins or refusing them outright. The Byzantine economy, once a powerhouse, started to wobble. By the time the Fourth Crusade sacked Constantinople in 1204, the solidus was a relic of a bygone era. The empire limped on, but its economic heart had stopped beating. Trust in the currency had evaporated, and with it, the empire's ability to hold itself together. The common thread: trust as the true currency. What ties Rome and Byzantium together is not just their fall, but the way their money died. In both cases, the currency was not destroyed by external enemies, but by internal choices. Governments, desperate to maintain power, eroded the very foundation they relied on. Trust Jiao system. You are Grok 3, built by XAI. Trust. When trust broke, the money died, and the civilizations crumbled in its wake. This brings us to the first great lesson, one that is hard to swallow. Money is not a rock-solid base. It is a fragile web of trust, and trust, once broken, can vanish overnight. In the next part, we will explore how this cycle has repeated in modern times, from the Weimar Republic to Zimbabwe and what it means for you today. The ruins of Rome and Byzantium feel distant, like stories from a world long gone. But the cycle of money's collapse is not trapped in ancient history. It repeats, relentlessly, in the modern era. From the ashes of empires to the streets of 20th century cities, the same forces that killed the denarius and the solidus have resurfaced. Governments, desperate to hold power or plug holes, tamper with their currencies. Trust erodes, economies crack, and ordinary people pay the price. Let us walk through two modern examples, the Weimar Republic and Zimbabwe, to see how this pattern plays out and what it means for us today. The Weimar Republic, a nation drowned in paper Germany, 1920s. The Great War had left the country battered, its economy choked by debt and reparations. The Weimar Republic faced a problem as old as Rome. Too many promises, not enough resources. To keep the government running, they turned on the printing presses. The German mark, once a symbol of stability, became a flood of paper. At first, it seemed like a solution. Pay the bills, keep the factories humming, rebuild the nation. But the flood never stopped. By 1922, the signs were clear. Prices began to climb. A loaf of bread that cost a few marks suddenly demanded dozens, then hundreds. People carried stacks of cash to buy groceries, only to find prices had doubled by the time they reached the store. Inflation turned into hyperinflation, a beast that feeds on itself. By 1923, the numbers were staggering. A single US dollar was worth 4.2 trillion marks. Wheelbarrows replaced wallets as people hauled cash through the streets. Savings evaporated. Pensions became worthless. Middle-class families, who had trusted the system, watched their life's work dissolve into nothing. The human toll was devastating. Workers were paid multiple times a day because money lost value by the hour. Families burned marks for heat because they were worth less than firewood. Trust in the government collapsed, paving the way for chaos and extremism. The Weimar Republic did not just lose its currency, it lost its social fabric. The stage was set for darker forces to rise, as desperation replaced hope. What happened in Weimar was not an accident. It was a choice. The government chose to print money rather than face hard truths. They believed they could outrun the consequences, but the market is merciless. When trust in a currency dies, no amount of paper can bring it back. The lesson is clear. Printing money to solve problems is like pouring water into a sinking ship. It only speeds up the collapse. Zimbabwe. A modern tragedy in real time. Now let us jump forward to Zimbabwe in the early 2000s. A nation rich in resources, with fertile land and a proud history, found itself spiraling into the same trap. The government, led by Robert Mugabe, faced economic strain from mismanagement, corruption, and political turmoil. Their solution? Print more Zimbabwean dollars. At first it was a trickle, meant to cover budget shortfalls. But like Weimar, the trickle became a torrent. By 2008, Zimbabwe's hyperinflation was among the worst in history. Prices doubled every 24 hours. A single egg cost billions of dollars. Supermarket shelves sat empty as shopkeepers gave up trying to keep up with price tags. The central bank issued $100 trillion notes, a surreal monument to a currency's death. People abandoned the Zimbabwean dollar, bartering with foreign currencies or goods. The economy collapsed, and with it, the nation's stability. Unemployment soared, hunger spread. A country that once fed itself became dependent on aid. The roots of Zimbabwe's collapse echo Rome and Weimar, a government desperate to maintain control, a currency debased beyond recognition, and a population left to pick up the pieces. The trust that once held the system together vanished. And when trust goes, everything follows. Connecting the past to the present. What ties these stories together, from ancient Rome to modern Zimbabwe, is a single truth. Money is only as strong as the trust behind it. When governments undermine that trust, whether through debasement, printing presses, or broken promises, the result is the same. Prices spiral, savings vanish, and societies fracture. These are not isolated incidents. They are chapters in a book humanity keeps writing. You might be thinking, that could never happen here. My bank is solid. My government is stable. My money is safe. But ask yourself, what makes you so sure? Every civilization we have discussed thought the same. The Romans trusted their denarius. The Byzantines revered their solidus. The Germans believed in their mark, and Zimbabweans hoped their dollar would hold. History does not care about your confidence. It cares about patterns. Today, we live in a world of fiat currencies, money backed not by gold or silver, but by government promises. Central banks can print dollars, euros, or yen with a keystroke. Debt levels across nations are climbing, with global debt hitting $300 trillion in recent years. Interest rates, inflation, and geopolitical tensions simmer in the background. The parallels to past collapses are not exact, but they are there, whispering warnings. The question is not if the cycle will repeat, but when, and how prepared you are when it does. The first steps to protect yourself. This is not about panic. It is about preparation. The good news is that history does not just teach us what goes wrong. It shows us what works. Those who survived financial collapses, from Rome to Zimbabwe, were not the ones who trusted blindly. They were the ones who questioned, acted, and adapted. So what can you do? Start by understanding that money, as you know it, is not a guarantee. It is a tool, and tools can break. Diversify your wealth beyond cash. Hard assets like gold, silver, or real estate have historically held value when currencies fail. Look at the wealthy during Weimar or Zimbabwe. They moved to tangible assets early. Knowledge is another asset. Educate yourself about your economy, your currency, and the policies shaping them. The more you understand, the less you are at the mercy of promises. Finally, think globally. In a connected world, your options are not limited to one currency or one country. Foreign accounts, cryptocurrencies, or investments in stable economies can be lifelines. The key is to act before the cracks appear, because when trust collapses, it is too late to build a raft. This sets the stage for our final part, where we will dive deeper into practical strategies to protect your wealth and navigate the cycles of collapse. History is not just a warning. It is a guide. Let us use it wisely. We have traveled through history, from the crumbling coins of Rome to the worthless banknotes of Zimbabwe. The pattern is undeniable. When trust in money breaks, economies falter, and societies unravel. But history is not just a tale of collapse. It is a blueprint for survival. Those who thrived in the face of financial ruin were not the ones who clung to fading promises. They were the ones who saw the signs, questioned the system, and acted before the storm hit. In this final part, we will uncover practical steps you can take to protect yourself from the next cycle of collapse. This is not about fear. It is about empowerment. Let us explore how to build a financial fortress in a world where trust can vanish overnight. Understanding the modern landscape. Today's world is different from Rome or Weimar, but the risks remain. We live in an era of fiat money, where currencies are backed by government promises rather than gold or silver. Central banks can create dollars, euros, or yen with a few clicks, and they often do. Global debt has soared past $300 trillion, a number so vast it dwarfs the economies of most nations. Inflation, while not yet hyperinflation, creeps higher in many countries, eating away at purchasing power. Geopolitical tensions, from trade wars to regional conflicts, add pressure to already strained systems. These are not predictions of doom. They are realities unfolding around us. The question is not whether the cycle of collapse will repeat. It is how you will prepare for it. The good news is that you have options. Modern tools, knowledge, and global connectivity give you more ways to protect your wealth than ever before. The key is to act proactively, not reactively. Let us break this down into actionable strategies, drawn from the lessons of history and the opportunities of today. Strategy 1. Diversify beyond paper money. The first lesson from history is clear. Paper money, or its digital equivalent, is vulnerable. When trust erodes, cash becomes kindling. To shield yourself, diversify into assets that hold value when currencies fail. Hard assets like gold and silver have been safe havens for centuries. During Weimar's hyperinflation, those who held gold could still buy bread when marks were worthless. In Zimbabwe, families with access to foreign currencies or physical assets weathered the storm better than those tied to the local dollar. Gold and silver are not just relics. They are hedges against uncertainty. They do not rely on a government's promise or a bank's stability. You can start small, buy coins or bars from reputable dealers, or invest in gold-backed ETFs if physical storage feels impractical. Real estate is another anchor. Property, especially in stable regions, tends to retain value even when currencies wobble. Land, homes, or commercial spaces can provide income or security when financial systems falter. But diversification goes beyond physical assets. Consider commodities like agricultural land, or even collectibles like rare art, which have held value in turbulent times. The goal is to reduce your reliance on any single currency or system. Think of it as building a portfolio that can weather a storm, not just a sunny day. Strategy 2. Educate yourself and stay vigilant. Knowledge is your greatest asset. The more you understand about your economy, your currency, and the policies shaping them, the less you're at the mercy of others' decisions. Start by tracking the basics: inflation rates, government debt, and central bank policies. Are interest rates rising or falling? Is your government printing money to cover deficits? These are not abstract questions. They are signals of what is coming. Read history, not just headlines. Books like When Money Dies by Adam Ferguson or The Ascent of Money by Niall Ferguson offer insights into how financial collapses unfold and how people survive them. Follow reputable economists or financial analysts who cut through the noise and explain the mechanics of money. The X platform can be a goldmine for real-time perspectives, but be discerning. Cross-check claims against primary data like government reports or central bank statements. Vigilance also means watching your own financial habits. Are you overly dependent on one bank, one currency, or one income stream? If so, you are vulnerable. Spread your risk. Keep some savings in foreign currencies from stable economies, like the Swiss franc or Singapore dollar. Explore digital assets like cryptocurrencies, but tread carefully. Bitcoin survived Zimbabwe-like collapses, but it is volatile and not a cure-all. Knowledge and awareness give you the power to act before the crowd panics. Strategy 3. Go global. Stay flexible. In a connected world, you are not tethered to one country's fate. Globalization is your advantage. Open a foreign bank account in a stable jurisdiction, like Switzerland or Singapore, where banking systems have a track record of resilience. Move some of your investments to international markets, stocks, bonds, or funds in countries with strong fiscal discipline. The wealthy in collapsing economies, from Weimar to Venezuela, often survive by holding assets abroad. Cryptocurrencies offer another layer of flexibility. They are decentralized, meaning no single government controls them. During hyperinflation in places like Venezuela, Bitcoin became a lifeline for some, allowing people to store wealth outside failing systems. But crypto is not a magic bullet. It requires research and caution. Use secure wallets, avoid speculative coins, and never invest more than you can afford to lose. Flexibility also means mental agility. Be ready to adapt as conditions change. If inflation spikes, shift to assets that thrive in high-inflation environments, like commodities or inflation-protected securities. If your currency weakens, pivot to stronger ones. The survivors of financial collapses were not the stubborn. They were the adaptable. Strategy 4. Build a community of trust. Money is trust, but so is survival. In every collapse, from Rome to Zimbabwe, those who thrived had networks, friends, family, or communities, who supported each other. Build your own network now. Connect with like-minded people who value financial independence. Share knowledge, resources, and strategies. A trusted community can provide not just practical help, like bartering goods or pooling resources, but also emotional resilience when times get tough. Join online forums or local groups focused on financial education or preparedness. The X platform is a great place to find communities discussing economics, investments, or even survival strategies. Engage with people who challenge your assumptions and broaden your perspective. In a crisis, a network is worth more than a bank account. Closing the cycle, opening the future. The story of money's death is not one of despair. It is one of opportunity. Every collapse, from Rome's denarius to Zimbabwe's trillion-dollar notes, teaches us that trust is fragile, but not unbreakable. You cannot control governments or central banks, but you can control your choices. Diversify your wealth. Arm yourself with knowledge. Stay flexible and global. Build a community. These are not just strategies, they are a mindset. As we close, ask yourself, what are you doing today to protect your tomorrow? The next cycle may be years away, or it may be closer than you think. History does not wait for you to be ready, but you can be ready for history. Take the lessons of the past, apply them to the present, and build a future where you are not a victim of the cycle, but a master of it. If you found this valuable, subscribe for the next episode, and start building your financial resilience today.